Welcome into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. So let's go and take a look back at that game. I know there's going to be a lot we're going to talk about later in the show moving forward with hurricane prep and the next game and all of that. But for now, looking back at that Thursday night game, what was your message to the team afterward in the locker room?
Too many mistakes. We had our chances to win. We made a bunch of plays on both sides of the ball, but we gave up a bunch of plays. We can't play the Bucs and the Falcons, and that was the biggest thing coming from it. And they saw it, and they know it, and we'll get better this week.
In previous games, it felt like we were always able to sort of answer in the big moments or the momentum swinging moments that in the Lions game and some of these, we saw that. But in this game, it felt like we weren't able to capitalize on some of those moments that would have put the game away. Was there anything that you could tell was sort of the consistent throughout those or why we weren't able to answer the way we had been in certain other games?
We just didn't make the plays. I mean, it's a long season. It's going to happen like that. You got to deal with some adversity, and this time this game was one of ours. And we had plays at the end. We could have won it on either side of the football. We didn't make them.
I know Kirk Cousins ended up with 509 yards, which has probably kept you up at night even more than you already do with your 3 a.m. wake-up calls. What happened specifically in the past game to let him put up some numbers like that?
It was more the yak yards after catch. We got the same route similar to Detroit. We missed a bunch of tackles, we misaligned, and we didn't play proper coverage.
Did you feel like, I know that you guys are always going to say that you can't use injuries as an excuse and next man up and all of those things, but did it feel like this was a game where finally just so many different injuries on the defensive side caught up to you a little bit?
Really didn't see it that way. I just thought we were misaligned, didn't make a bunch of plays.
What did you see from specifically Jamel and Zion in this game?
Zion played well for the most part. He could have ran through that ball and got the interception for us, and then got his hands on a couple balls as well. We just have to come down with those. Instead of getting PBUs, we got to get interceptions, but on the outside, the ball's not going over our heads.
It is nice to know that you're going to get another shot at them. That's the beauty of it being the first of the two matchups. So looking at the fact that we will play them again before too long, what did you learn specifically about covering Mooney in London?
Not much. They were good receivers going in. I mean, we knew what they were going to do. We just didn't stop them. We got to do a better job of game planning. We got to do a better job of playing them next time.
What stands out to you about specifically the overtime drive and then also the one that sent it into overtime defensively? What about those two different drives stands out?
I know fourth down, we could have got off the field before the field goal, the first play. We could have held the clock longer. 12 seconds is usually not enough time to get another play off, but they got another play off, and we could have held them down longer, but the clock should have gone out then. Overtime play, Zion tried to make a play. He got his hand on the ball, actually. He didn't make a play. The guy turned it up in man coverage, and everybody else was in chase mode.
I know Levante David, man, I mean, we're just going to forever talk about some incredible stats and things that guy is still doing at this age especially, but 8 tackles, a couple passes defensed, that incredible fourth quarter interception. How impressive was this game from him for you?
It was impressive with the big plays, but the minor things, I thought he can do some things better, and he tried to overcompensate a few times. We just got to get back to him making his own plays and everybody else making their plays.
I know that, we're used to talking about his tackles or even his forced fumbles, but now he's got, 13 career interceptions, tying him for the most among active linebackers, and 67 career passes defensed, the second most among active linebackers. So what are the things that he typically does in coverage that stand out to you that maybe we don't always give him as many flowers for?
Just his intelligence. I mean, he can run with anybody, but his intelligence, understanding route concepts, and beating everybody to the punch.
I know Tyke Smith had a career high 11 tackles. Sometimes you don't want guys in the DB position to be getting as many tackles, but what did you see from him in this game? He also had a pass defense, first career forced fumble. Overall, what stands out?
Well, his tackling is what got him here. He's a very smart, very heady player. He had a bunch of tackles, like to have 2 or 3 plays back, but he had a bunch of plays, and he'll make a bunch of plays for us all year.
Logan Hall, first multi-sack game of his career, and he's actually right now leading the team in sacks. Did you see this as his best game as a Buc so far?
As a pass rusher, not as a player, but as a pass rusher, he's starting to put it together. He had 5 more quarterback hits, and his athleticism is starting to show. He's getting more confident in that, and you're really starting to see the end product.
What could that ultimately mean his ceiling is and what you guys could expect from him moving forward if he is able to put that part of his game to this higher level?
It just gives us an extra guy. With Vita and Canty already in there, it'll help the outside guys push in the pocket more so that quarterback can flush out and we can get some easier sacks on the outside.
How about Anthony Nelson also adding another sack? What did you see from his game and play?
Nelly does Nelly things. He's always consistent. He's always steady. He looks slow, but he's not. He's just a technician, and before you know it, he's at the quarterback.
And I know Vita also getting another sack. We had talked about what it meant the game before this to have him back. Did you continue to see him make as big of an impact this game?
Like where his motor is, like where he is mentally, like the way he's playing.
And then I know the run defense, there were times that obviously the Falcons were getting a lot through the air, but what did you guys see in terms of what you were able to do to face, as we've talked about, one of the better 1-2 punches in the league at the running back position?
We were there. I still thought we missed more tackles than we should have made. We missed more tackles than we should have. They got out on a couple of flare passes and a couple of runs where we were hitting them for a loss, and he was getting about 4 or 5 yards. We got to shore that up.
I know you guys held them to 6 of 14 on third down, but they did convert 2 of 3 on fourth down. What did you see specifically on third and fourth down from the defense?
Well, they kept getting third and short yardage. Third and short is tough to defend, 3rd and 3, but we had chances to make plays and we didn't make them.
All right, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more right here on the Todd Bowles Show. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. I know we scored 24 points in the first half for the second straight game. First time we have done that in consecutive games since 2019. So what was working so well offensively in the first half?
Ball was coming out quick. Baker was making some great reads. Mike and Chris and everybody was getting involved. Kate was getting involved. Rashad was involved, and he was sharp. He was very sharp.
What did you see that slowed down then in the second half, knowing that it was kind of a tale of two halves offensively?
Not converting third downs. You know, we didn't convert third downs when it was critical, and we kept shooting ourselves in the foot with the flag.
Baker, 3 touchdown passes in the first half. That is his most in a first half since 2020. And at halftime, he had as many touchdown passes as incompletions. That's a pretty incredible stat right there. What did you see from his game overall?
He's put together 2 good weeks. I mean, he's locked in, he's dialed in. Him and Liam have a great relationship. They understand everything. He's making the right checks, and the ball's really zipping out of his hands.
And definitely still sometimes he's showing he can use his legs. I know he ended up finishing with 42 yards rushing. What did you see from his ability to extend plays like that?
Took what they gave him. Everybody had their backs turned. They were easy runs for him. He got out there and he did about a 20-something yard sprint right there, and you like to see that when they give you that situation.
And I know we talked about the week before that very obvious plan to try to get Mike going early and often, and it looked pretty similar this week of trying to get him going early. Finished with 62 yards and 2 touchdowns, got his 100th career touchdown, and now has the 7th most multi-receiving touchdown games in the Super Bowl era, which is pretty incredible. So take us through his game and especially those couple touchdowns.
When Mike gets going, the team gets going. That's how we get started fast. He got started this game fast. We got started fast. And, you know, if you don't double him, you're going to have a problem with him. And that showed up early. They didn't double him, and Baker found him, and he made some plays.
Yeah, and take us through those couple touchdowns, and especially the one where he was so wide open. I'm sure Mike would love to.
When he was wide open, I think they had a misread in coverage, and he kind of broke out on the 7 route, and they singled up the nickel, and he got out on nickel one-on-one. And, you know, when you get him one-on-one, he's not a corner by nature, and he's going to make a play every time.
And now a couple weeks in a row with an opening drive touchdown after not having one for so long. What is most encouraging to you about this, and maybe what it also says about Liam Cohen, knowing those opening drives are usually the ones that are the most scripted out of the gate?
Just getting started fast. Us getting started fast gets us off to a good start always, and we just got to keep that up.
Chris Godwin, I mean, outside of the fumble, continues his consistency. Finished with team high in yards. He's had at least 5 catches and 50 yards in every game this season, which is the longest streak in the NFL. Third most 5-catch, 50-yard games in the NFL since 2019. What does that tell you about what he's able to do and what that means to an offense like this to know you're going to get that kind of consistent production?
Says a lot about his work ethic, his connection with Baker, him just constantly finding ways to get open, him running after the catch. Chris just doing some amazing things right now. He really looks fresh and healthy out there. He's having a lot of fun, and he's playing with a lot of purpose.
160 team rushing yards, most in a game since the Germany game in 2022. Rashad White, 10 carries for 72 yards, new career-long 56-yard rush. Bucky added 9 carries for 44 yards. What did you see from those 2 backs in particular?
The offensive line did a heck of a job creating holes for them. They got to get some tough runs at the end to finish off the game, but those guys are running hard. They're running more with purpose. They understand where the holes are. They set up their blocks a lot better, and it's showing.
How did you see Bucky handle a fumble like that? I know as a rookie, having a big moment like that not go how you want, that's a pretty tough one to swallow.
I think it was tough on him over the weekend, but we talked, and he's talked to Liam, he's talked to Coach Pete, and he's a young guy. We rely on Bucky to do a lot. He's going to learn from it. He's going to become a better player.
How did you see the offensive line and specifically the run game in their performance?
They did a good job. I mean, we got 160 yards rushing, so we just got to continue to keep working at some things, back blocks and some things like that, but I think they're doing a good job.
And then how about them in the protection?
For the most part, they were okay. Not a lot of pressure. I don't think they sent us a lot of pressure. When they did, we picked it up, and Baker got the ball out, so they're clicking at the right time.
And Cade Otton, 22-yard catch. Does it feel like he's gotten to be in a good place now with this offense and Liam's scheme and the way they're able to use him?
I think it's still growing. I really think it's still growing. We're getting them involved. We can get them more involved, and I think that's going to happen as the games go on.
I know it's tough to be without two of your main four wide receivers, but then Sterling Shepard has come in these last couple games and really contributed. What have you seen from his ability to do that? Of when there are very few teams, in this league, it seems like where your number 5 guy is going to come in and participate like this.
A lot of energy, a lot of quickness, a lot of skill, a lot of veteran leadership, and he can play. He can still play. He's another element for us. With those two guys down, we didn't miss a beat, and you're going to have to cover him.
And take us through his touchdown.
His was easy. I mean, he was trying to set a pick, and if the pick isn't there, he runs right to the corner of the end zone. Baker hit him with a dart, and they had their old college connection.
All right, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back on the Todd Bowles Show. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Let's look at special teams a little bit here. 36.5 yards per kickoff return were the team's 4th most in a game with 3 or more returns in franchise history. The average return also stands as the 2nd most by any NFL team since the start of the season. So take us through what works so well in the kick returns. And I know Sean Tucker, getting a career-long kick returns of 53 and 33 yards and what you saw out of him.
Sean did a great job, man. He was breaking a lot of tackles. He's a tough runner. And to get a running back like there of his caliber that can break tackles and make things happen and still have the same speed to gain some yards, the guys did a good job up front blocking for the most part, and they made things happen.
And then Bucky, I know, also had a 39-yard return. What have you seen from him and his special teams contributions?
No different. They're running backs by nature, and it's almost a running back play the way they got the closeness of the kickoff team right there. So they're just hitting holes, and they're taking advantage of it.
And then Chase McLaughlin, man, now has a franchise record 27 straight field goals. He's the first Bucs kicker with 2 or more made field goals of 50-plus yards in a single game since 2012. And now has the best field goal percentage in NFL history from 50-plus yards. And, of course, these last couple of games he's done it with a new holder and still been just automatic. So what has that meant to the team and this offense?
It's been a steady calmness since he's gotten here. I mean, making kicks, you kind of take it for granted, but he's making 50-plus yards. He's making them with ease, and it's a very calming presence to know you can get 3 points almost every time you cross midfield.
I know the game before this you had talked about Gill coming in as the punter, that even though his net average maybe wasn't as high, he'd gotten the hang time, let you guys make some of those plays. What did you see from him for punting and kicking off this game?
Kicking off, he was great. He was putting the ball out the back of the end zone. Punting again, he gave us some hang time, and he gave them time to get down there, and we could force some fair catches.
I know there's a lot of plans you're making this week, but what are the plans specifically at that position, and when might you know more?
At that position, haven't made any yet. Still might know more. Jake's still getting better, and we're still going with Gill at the moment. We'll see what happens in practice this week.
And then Tavier Thomas, blocked field goal out there. What has he meant to the special teams unit? And then specifically that play, what did you see?
That was outstanding. Tavier can come off the edge. He can make those type of plays for us, and he's a heck of a kickoff guy. He's been a common presence on special teams for us since he's gotten here.
Does a win or loss affect the way you approach when you do have kind of that mini bye after a Thursday game? Does that change anything for you about preparations and how you typically would do things based on how the game goes?
No, it was more of a health thing for us that kind of takes precedence over how long we're off and what we have to do going forward, not whether we win or lose.
And how do you want to approach things mentally, emotionally, kind of two separate parts of this. One, just that game, knowing that it's a tough one, how you want a team to approach a tough loss when you do have 10 days to kind of sit and think about it before you get to play another one. But then now you also have the emotions of this hurricane coming. What are the things that you're kind of imparting to the team and wanting them to do from an emotional and mental standpoint?
Well, we should be over the game. I mean, 3 or 4 days off, you got to be over that one, move on to the next one. More importantly is the hurricane and everybody's families being safe and everybody in Tampa being safe. So you got to deal with that part of it, and yet they're not canceling the game on Sunday. You got to have a part of it that's mentally focused on getting that part done so we can play well on Sunday.
And how are you guys approaching the schedule of what you typically would do when, for a coaching staff, when you do get those extra days, how that affects the way you guys prepare and your schedule? But then also now with a hurricane being thrown into it, what are the different ways that you guys have approached this as coaches?
Well, we got in here this weekend. A lot of coaches did some things and took some time off, but came in and watched some film, our corrections as well as the Saints going forward because they don't play until tonight. But hurricane-wise, we'll try to keep it as normal as possible when we leave town, just to make sure everybody's on schedule. So that part hasn't changed for the coaches. So we're trying to keep that part normal. Obviously, they got to take care of their families, and we got to get all that stuff taken care of. But we're trying to keep it as streamlined as possible to keep it closest to the vest as we can.
And then what do we know or not know at this point about who could be available for the next week based on a lot of these injuries?
We don't know a whole lot at this moment. We may lose some, so we'll see what the injury report looks like as the week goes on, but hopefully we can get some guys back.
All right, we're going to take one more break here, and when we get back, we'll talk about this Saints matchup. It's time for our final segment here on the Todd Bowles Show. Let's get a little bit into this Saints game. With there being so much chaos with the hurricane and all of that, is it at least helpful you're playing a slightly more familiar opponent?
Not really, because they have a new coordinator. We know the people, but they're always going to be tough down there in the Dome. It's always tough because it's a division game. New coordinator brings different variety of offense for him. Kamara's back to his old self, so it's always going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, let's talk about new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. What are the things that you know about him and what he likes to do?
He's very good. He kind of takes after the Shanahan and takes after his dad offensively. Does a lot of play action, a lot of boots, a lot of throwbacks, a lot of deep shots, but he really likes to run the football, so we got to be sharp up front.
And then, of course, like you mentioned, Alvin Kamara, always a fun one to go against. What does he seem to be doing, especially in this new offense and this stage in his career? What do you notice about what's similar or different to other times we've seen him?
He's coming more downhill, running the ball well. He always had great balance and great power and great speed, but they're getting him downhill. They're getting the ball in his hands in space, and he's making things happen.
And how about how Derek Carr looks now in this offense, having been there a bit?
He looks very comfortable. He looks very comfortable, whether it's short throws or deep throws. He knows where his outlets are, and they got a running game to go with it, so he's been very effective.
And then Rashid Shaheed, we know this is a guy that has some speed and ability to make some plays. What do you notice about him?
Him and Olave both. I mean, they're a threat down the field. They got a 1-2 punch going down the field. They can hurt you with screens. They can hurt you with deep balls. They can hurt you with the intermediate game. So they're really mixing it up pretty good.
And how about the Saints' offensive line? What have they looked like this year?
They definitely look a lot bigger. They're coming off the ball more. They're using their power. And like I said, they got the run game going, so they're playing well.
And I know Taysom Hill's had some injury issues at this moment. They still have another game to play. So what do we know about if he is able to go, the kind of dynamic that can throw in?
They're still using him the same way they used him in the past. He can play quarterback, he can play tailback, he can play tight end, he can play wide receiver almost. They're doing a lot of things with him. He's still back to doing all the things he knows how to do.
And then what do you notice about their defensive front at this point?
Tough, always been tough. They got some edge rushers led by Cam Jordan up there. They got middle linebackers, and they got a secondary. They got a very veteran leadership team. They got Tyron over there. They got the Mario over there. They got Cam over there. They're very sharp players, and they're very heady players.
And so for you, as you go to approach this, with there being potentially as many or more injuries as there have been, how much does that change?
It changes some things, but it doesn't change the base of what we're trying to do to win the ball game. That's never been an issue there. We just got to get those guys acclimated and make sure they're doing the things they know how to do.
All right, well, Coach, thank you as always for taking the time, and good luck this week prepping for the Hurricane and the game.
Thank you.